right, so we're now in section 2.3, Introduction to Problem Solving. So the first one here, it says using the variable x, translate the sentence into an equation, solve the resulting equation. So we have twice a number plus 7 equals 9. So that's just, it's a different color here. So twice a number, and it says we want to use the variable x, so 2x, twice a number plus 7, so 2x plus 7 equals 9. Okay, so once we have that, now we can solve the equation. So we just subtract 7 on both sides. That gives us 2x equals 2. Divide both sides by 2. So x gives us 1. Okay. Again, you can plug it in, right, to double check. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 7 will give us 9. So that's good. All right, for the second one here, we have a number is increased by 5. So a number is increased by 5 and then divided by 2, the result is 7. So a number x is increased by 5, then divided by 2 is equal to 7. Perfect. Okay, so now we can just solve for x. There's a lot of ways to do this. I'm going to recommend the LCD way. Okay, so the LCD in this case, the least common denominator is 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So then the 2's cancel, giving me x plus 5. Then 2 times 7 is 14. Then subtract 5 on both sides. So x gives us 9. First one says the sum of 3 consecutive integers is negative 123. The sum of 3 consecutive integers is equal to negative 123. So let's label this number 1. Okay, so all right, so 3 consecutive integers, right? So we don't know the first one, right? We don't know the first one, so let's label that x. Consecutive means right after another, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? That's what consecutive means. So if this is x, if the first one is x, the second one's going to be x plus 1, right? Okay. And then the next one will be x plus 2. All right. So we have x, x plus 1 plus x plus 2. So these are 3 consecutive integers. I don't know what they are. I just know that this is what they're being represented as. Okay. And is, remember, translates to equal. So equals negative 123. All right. So hopefully this is how you set up the first one. Okay. Okay. And now we just need to solve for x. So we got 3 x's. So there'll be 3x. And then plus 1 plus 2 is plus 3 equals negative 123. Okay. Then we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. You get 3x is equal to negative 126. Then we're going to divide both sides by 3. Okay, so x gives me negative 42. All right, so the x there is negative 42. Then we're going to add 1, right? Because now we have x plus 1. So that's going to be negative 42 plus 1, which is negative 41. Then we have x plus 2. That's going to be negative 42 plus 2. So that will give us negative 40. So our 3 consecutive numbers is going to be negative 40, negative 41, and negative 42. All right, so let's look at number 2 now. 5 times a number is 24 more than twice the number. So 5 times a number, 5 times a number, so 5 times x, right? 5 times a number is 24 more than twice a number. Remember when we see the word more than, less than, that means you would flip them. Okay? So this is literally saying 24 plus 2x, but we have to flip these, right? Because it says more than. So in this case, we have 5 times a number. So 5x is, it's going to be 2x plus 24. Okay? 24 more than twice the number. So that's what you get for equation for the second one. And then we just solve for x. Okay, so that cancels there. We get 3x equals 24. Then divide both sides by 3. So x gives us 8. All right. And then for the last one here, it says 2 less than twice a number. Again, 2 less than is a minus twice a number, 2x. So again, when that says less than, we have to flip these. Okay. Divided by 5 equals 4. Okay. So number 3 here, we're going to have 2 less than twice a number. So that's going to be 2x minus 3. Sorry, 2x minus 2. Okay. Divided by 5. When you divide the whole thing by 5 equals 4. Right? And then I just need to solve for x. So I'm going to multiply by the LCD, which is 5. That's the least common denominator. So I multiply this by 5, and I multiply this by 5. So the 5's cancel. We have 2x minus 2. 4 times 5 is 20. And then we solve for x. So we add 2 to both sides, and then divide by 2. All right, so x gives us 11. All right, so for this one, it says be 3 years older than twice her current age. That means when it says older than, greater than, more than, you have to flip them. So this would be 2x plus 3 equals 10, and then we just solve for x. So when we do that, we subtract 3 on both sides and then divide by 2. We get x is equal to 3.5. 3.5 years old. Okay. All right. The second one here says air quality. In 2007, there were 100 unhealthy air quality days in Los Angeles. This is one more than 3 times the number of unhealthy air quality. So again, we have those keywords again, more than. So that should automatically in your brain, we have to flip them. So this is one more than 3 times the number of unhealthy quality days in San Diego. How many unhealthy air days were there in San Diego? All right, so the left side says one more than 3 times the number of unhealthy air quality. So that's basically representing X, right? So one more than 3x. So again, it says more than, so we have to flip them. So we got 3x plus 1. Okay. And then equals that to 100. Okay. So then we subtract both sides and then divide by 3. So this will be at 33 days. Okay, so for this one, on this side, it says the surgery was performed 368,000 times. So that's going to be our output. And so this is 22,000 fewer than 13 times the number. So again, you have the word fewer than, less than. So that means you have to we have to switch them. So then it becomes 13 times the number of this type, so 13x minus 22,000. Okay. And then after that, we just solve for x and we get x is equal to 30,000 times. So in February 2010, Facebook had 225 million more active users than they had the same month in 2009. If there were 400 million active users in February 2010, how many were there in February 2009? Okay. Again, hopefully you had the opportunity to look at this one. So let's dissect this. So it says Facebook had 225 million um, 225 million more active users than it had the same month in 2009. Okay. So more active users. So 225 more active users. Okay. So how can we represent that? 225 million, not just 225. 225 million more active users. So we can represent that by writing this as x plus 225. And since we're all in millions, I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so I just know at the end I need to um, write down million at the end. But again, it's telling me this is 225 million. Okay, so we want to figure out the original. So, but we know when we do the original plus the 225, because it's more, 225 million more users than before, what was that? But we know the outcome is 400 million. Okay. So we just subtract 225 on both sides. Okay. So that gives us 175 million. So it says if the perimeter of the following rectangle is 106 inches, find the value of x. So the key word here is perimeter. What does perimeter mean? The distance around, exactly, right? So if you play basketball, you talk about, shooting around the perimeter, so around the basket. Okay. So that's what perimeter is, around it, the distance around it. Okay. So if this is a rectangle, then that means if this is x on this side, this is also x on this side, correct? Right? And this is x plus 5, then the top here is also x plus 5, right? Okay. And in order to find the perimeter, we just add up all the sides. So we have x x plus 5 plus x plus x plus 5. Okay? And what do they add up to? Well, they tell us that they add up to 106 inches. Okay? So now we just combine our like terms and then solve for x. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4x. Okay, and then we have 5 plus 5 is 10, equal to 106. So we subtract 10 on both sides. 4x equals 96, and then divided by 4. Okay, so divided by 4. So x gives me 24. Okay, it says here two bank loans, one for $5,000 and the other for $3,000, cost a total of $550 in interest for 1 year. The $500,000 loan has an interest rate of 3% lower than the interest rate for the $3,000 loan. Find the interest rate for each loan. So this types of problem are called they're simple interest rate problems. Well, you're going to use the formula, the simple interest rate, to set this up. Okay, so the simple interest rate is I is equal to PRT. Okay, so P in this case is representing the principal or the amount borrowed. R is your rate, and then T is time. Okay, per year. So, all right, so we're going to use this to set this up. So we're talking about two loans. Loan 1, loan 2. Okay. And we want the total outcome. Okay. So the total outcome, we want two loans, one for 5,000, the other 3,000. Okay. And cost a total of $550 in interest for 1 year. So the output of this is 550. Okay. So we know one loan is $5,000. Okay. So let's write that down. Like, you know what? I'm going to use a different color here. Okay, so loan 1, loan 2, total outcome. So we got $550. That's our output. Loan 1, we have $5,000. Loan 2, we have $3,000, right? So again, I'm using the PRT. Here's my PRT, PRT. So the rate here is 3%. Okay. So um so the 5,000 loan has an interest rate of 3% lower than um the interest rate for a $3,000 loan. Okay. So interest rate is 3% lower than the interest rate for the $3,000 loan. Okay, so in this case, we're going to have 5,000, and then this is going to be 3% lower. So I don't know what that is. So it's going to be x minus 0.03. And then this one would be x. Okay, because again, we're comparing the rate to loan 2. And I don't know what that is. So we're going to say that's x. But we know in relation to loan 1, it's 3% less. So if this was 10, this would be 7%. Okay? If this was 20, this would be 17%. All right? And we're doing this for 1 year. Okay? For 1 year. So T is 1. T is 1. Okay? And then we're going to add those up and then equal it to 550. Okay? Okay, so now I just distribute, right? So 5,000 times x, 5,000 times 103. So I'm going to get 5,000 x minus 0.03, sorry, 5,000 x minus 150, okay? And then same for this one, I get 3,000 x, okay? If you want to bring down the 1, you can, but this whole thing is just going to be the same, right? So again, I'm distributing this. I get this here, and then multiply by 1, we get the same thing. All right, so 5,000. There we go. Okay, equals 550. All right, so 5,000x plus 3,000x, that's going to give us 8,000x minus 150 equals 550. Then add the 150 on both sides. So we get 8,000x equals 700. Then divide both sides by 8,000. Okay, so x gives us 0.0875, but we want the interest rate. So we need to multiply this by 100. So that's 8.75%. And so that's going to be for the $3,000. Okay. So this is at the $3,000 at 3K. And then for the other one, we just need to subtract this number from 3%. Okay. So we use a different color there. Okay. So that's going to be 8.75 minus 3%. So that gives us 5.75% at the 5K or 5,000 amount. Okay, so 3K representing 3,000, 5K representing 5,000. Okay, it says how many gallons, this is mixing antifreeze. It says how many gallons of 70% antifreeze should be mixed with 10 gallons of 30% antifreeze to obtain a 45% antifreeze mixture. All right, the importance about solving problems is organization. You have to organize the information that you have, okay? So in order to do this. So um, we're going to have our antifreeze. And then we have gallons. Okay. So what we're doing is we're saying, okay, how many gallons of the 70% antifreeze should be mixed with 10 gallons of the 30% antifreeze? So let's break that down. That's a lot of information there. So how many gallons of 70% antifreeze? So that's 70%. Okay, antifreeze. How many gallons? I don't know. So that's going to be X. Okay. How many gallons of 70% antifreeze should be mixed with 10 gallons of 30% antifreeze? So the next part is 30%, but it tells me how many I need to put in there. 10 gallons. 10 gallons. Okay. So 10 gallons here. Okay. To obtain, so this is my output. To obtain 45% antifreeze mixture. So I want an output of 45%. Okay. That means I need to combine these together to get that output. So I'll have X plus 10. Okay. All right. So now this is part of my organizing the information. And then I just set this up. So I'm going to have 70% X. So that's going to be 0.70X plus 30% of the 10 gallons. So that's going to be 0.30 times 10 equals, because this is my output, 45% or 0.45 times X plus 10. Okay. Then I just simplify. So 0.70x plus 3, because 0.30 times 10 is 3, equals, then I distribute 0.45x plus 4.5. Okay? Then I'm going to combine like terms. So I'll subtract 3 on both sides. And I'm going to subtract 0.45x on both sides. Okay, so my 3's cancel. These guys will cancel. And I have 0.25x. Okay, 0.70x minus 0.45 is 0.25x equals 1.5. 4.5 minus 3 is 1.5. Okay, then I divide both sides by 0.25. So my X is going to give me 6 gallons. So that's our answer there.